With that, if you'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask Darrell to lead us, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, do you need to read any announcements, Darrell? Okay, read announcements in the record, please.
In compliance with directives of the county, state, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to public attendance. Meeting procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. To make a live meeting comment, make a verbal public comment during a meeting. The public comment phone line will open 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Refer to the agenda and listen to the live meeting to determine when is the best time to call to be placed in the queue to make a public comment. Callers may be on hold for up to an extended period of time and should plan accordingly. Dial 916-875-2500 and follow the prompts to be placed in queue for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be transferred from the queue into the meeting to make a verbal comment. Each agenda item queue will remain open until the public comment period is closed for that specific item. For a written comment, send an email comment to boardclerk@saccounty.net. Include meeting date and the agenda number or off-agenda item. Contact information is optional. This meeting of the Solid Waste Authority is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. This meeting is closed captioned and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Saturday, October 10th at 2 p.m. and Sunday, October 11th at 4 p.m. on Channel 14.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Darrell, for reading that into the record. And with that, we'll go into the agenda and first take our reports from our general manager. And I think Mr. Israel is going to handle this today. So good afternoon, Tim.
Thank you, Director Natoli. Doug Sloan was unable to make it here today. He was under the weather.
Okay, well, best wishes for him. Quick recovery from whatever it is that's ailing him.
So we've got a pretty long agenda today, and we've been really busy on a staff level recently. So I want to bring you up to speed on some of the items we've been working on and the issues that are at hand. With regards to COVID-19 impacts, I want to move that forward. How do I do it? Oh. Oops. There we go. Commercial and recycling generation dropped in the second quarter as we expected with the impacts of COVID. Commercial trash generation was down about 20%, and recycling followed that number. So the ratio of them was about the same as it normally is, but our generation was off 20% in that quarter. We don't have third quarter data compiled yet, but we'll certainly report on that next meeting. Our local material recovery facilities and disposal facilities are all in full operation at this point, and things are going well there. On the state's Cal Recycle's response to COVID, they have not been very cooperative, I guess is how I would describe it. They don't have the authority to change any of the timelines that we're working with. And so one of the things they just recently done has lowered the threshold for commercial organics from 4 yards to 2. Just recently, that will be effective towards the end of the year. And as part of that lowering, they have gone to a lot of the local jurisdictions, and including the SWA, and informed us that they would be requesting formal compliance plans for how we plan to get to the new 2 yard limit and transition to SB 1383. And so we plan to move ahead with that and respond to their request with essentially a plan that would serve as a bridge from where we're at right now to full compliance with 1383. So we continue to work with Cal Recycle, but quite honestly, our generators and haulers aren't going to get any relief from the state as far as regulation is concerned. We've had a lot of efforts working on our code, and in association with that, we held a series of stakeholder meetings this summer. We had 3 meetings. Haulers and generators were invited to those meetings. In those meetings, we discussed Ordinance 30 and the administrative orders that are associated with complying with this new 3-bin service. We also provided updates on code, our code efforts, our efforts to create a new online reporting system, gave them information on the progress of the SWA dissolution, and also provided them some updates on a new regulatory requirements associated with AB 827, which has to do with basically recycling containers in the front of stores that sell food items. As far as SWA dissolution goes, we've been very busy with rewriting of code. We've made substantial progress and for both the city and the county. Timelines are shown here. The city's process is longer than the county's. So basically, we're both to the point where we're going to have drafts for stakeholder review in November. The city will take it to that code to their Law and Ledge Committee in later in November, with a final code approved sometime in the December, January, February timeframe, so that they have enough time to get their contracts with their haulers put together before July 1st of next year. The county's timeline's a little less complicated. We are still looking to get that stakeholder review and comments this fall, with ultimate adoption by the Board of Supervisors probably in the March timeframe. We're also working on a new electronic reporting system that would integrate all the reporting and record keeping that we're going to have to do for SB 1383. And so basically, our current vendor is a company called Recyclist, and they're going to be working on putting together basically modules that will allow haulers to report their revenues, their tonnages, allow us to keep track of individual generators and their waiver status. And then there's just an incredible amount of data and information that needs to be stored and made available for Cal Recycle's inspections or compliance reviews in the future. So we're working towards that. And then finally, and probably most importantly, the city is well into their ramping up to meet this challenge. They've hired Erin Treadwell as their leader of their commercial program, and she'll be actually presenting later in the meeting on their code enforcement efforts. Commercial and recycling compliance. We've been very active in trying to nudge our generators and haulers into compliance. And so we've sent out letters to all our non-compliant commercial generators. We've received a lot of calls, a lot of concerns, and we're working to address those as quickly as we can and be as proactive as we can in responding to those concerns. But we do have limited staff capabilities, and so there is some delays, and there are some issues with data from haulers, and so we're working through it. And I think you'll see here in a minute that our compliance rates continue to come up, and so things are heading in the right direction. We just need to continue to work on it. As I said before, the 1826 threshold dropped to 2 yards, and so we'll be submitting a formal report or a plan to Cal Recycle with regards to that. All right. And then here's our graph of our commercial compliance efforts. And as you can see, the recycling compliance is held relatively steady. whereas our organics compliance continues to rise. You can really see the effects of our outreach efforts, and when you see these big jumps, that's typically when we've run those efforts and we get people to respond. So I would anticipate that these numbers will continue to rise. Cal Recycle certainly has indicated that they want these numbers closer to 90 to 100 than 60 or 50 or 60%. So with that said, that concludes our general manager's report. Any questions?
Okay, thanks, Tim. Let me go to folks on the phone. Questions of?
Yes, Director Peters here.
Sure, Susan, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Could I ask in the comments about the dissolution, you mentioned a lot of, you're working on ordinance and laws and policies and that sort of thing. Are you doing any outreach to the haulers and other affected parties?
Yes, we had 3 stakeholder meetings where we talked about, on 2 of them we did extensive discussions on our planned code changes and helped inform them of what our plans are. And the reality is of that exercise, it's really been mostly an effort of just taking the existing code language and putting it into the county code or the city code. And so we haven't made substantial changes to the requirements. One area that is going to change are in the enforcement provisions, because the city handles code enforcement different than the county. But we've included the haulers, and we anticipate a outreach effort with these draft codes that will be going out from both the city and the county.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you're doing enough outreach that we don't end up having a big delay in concluding the operation. No big surprises at the end of those affected.
We certainly are trying to avoid that.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions, comments by members of the board? Okay, seeing none, we did have a public comment on this item. I'll read this into the record from Dave Sikich, and it says briefly, I am unable to attend today's meeting. However, I'm very concerned about the progress of the dissolution of the Solid Waste Authority. He said, I think there was a commitment to give updates every 6 months. I may have missed a meeting, or maybe the pandemic has affected the delivery, but we need to ensure that the city has enough time to take over the commercial programs as of July 1st, 2021. And I know this relates to one of the charts you just showed a moment ago, Mr. Israel. He says, as you know, I have not been in favor of the dissolution and feel that it will increase cost to both jurisdictions. However, if we are going to do this, a seamless transition will go a long way with the business community. Thank you, Dave Sikich. So that was one comment I had. Do we have anybody on the phone, Darrell?
No, we do not have any verbal comment at this time.
Okay. All right. Seeing no further comments, then we'll go ahead and no action required on that. We'll move down to our consent items 2 through 6. I don't know if you need to read those into the record, Madam Clerk. If not, we can go ahead and take a motion. Do you need to read them in the record?
Only if you like.
Oh, okay. Then okay. I think that they're on the agenda. So motion would be in order. If consent calendar.
Mr. Chair, Aaron
Yes.
Guerra from City of Sacramento. I'll go ahead and move the consent calendar.
Okay. Motion by Guerra.
Frost, second.
Okay, seconded by Frost. Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar items. And again, we have no one signed up to speak on this item.
No, we do not have any public comment at this time.
All right, very good. Then with that, then I'm going to call for a roll call vote, please.
Okay. Director Warren? Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Director Kennedy? Director Natoli?
Aye.
Director Peters?
Aye.
Director Garrida?
Aye.
And your motion carries with Warren and Kennedy being absent.
Okay, very good. Okay, I'll move down the agenda then to our discussion and action items. And so first one is item 7, adoption of the fiscal year 2020-2021 final budget. And we have our presenter, so
Yes.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Board of Directors, my name is Jennifer Claiborne. I am a program manager with SWA, here to present and request adoption of the fiscal year 2021 final budget. With that, you've received all the information. I don't have a presentation today, but I will take any questions at this time.
Okay, so that was Jennifer's presentation. You have the information before you, and are there questions regarding any of the items in the budget, allocations, or any noted items as called out in the staff report?
Mr. Chair, this is Eric Guerra from the City of Sacramento.
Yes, Eric, go ahead.
I'll go ahead and move the proposed staff report. I do have one concern and would like staff to follow through on this, and that's regarding the allocation for helping the P-bids with illegal dumping. And it's more of a policy question, but the response that I keep getting from the P-bids is that the requirement to be able to access the rebates for the funds we've set aside are, one, too cumbersome, and also the additional insurance requirements for the P-bids to increase their premiums makes the ability to access the rebates financially unfeasible. So I'll go ahead and move the budget as is the numbers, but I think that if we're going to be effective in using the illegal dumping cleanup services, we have to address that piece.
Okay, we do have a motion, and I'll look for a second and I'll ask staff to respond to Mr. Guerra's comments. Do we have a second? Chair would second.
Second, Carr.
Okay, Director Carr. Okay, so we had Director Carr seconds. Okay, so maybe Jennifer or Tim, you can respond to, it relates to budget, I guess, in the utilization of those funds that have been allocated, so.
Yeah, absolutely. We have worked with the P-bids and trying to simplify that application for them, but I will work with our teams on the insurance requirements. It's my understanding that there's some standards that we place on all agreements, but that's something we could look at closer.
Greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, thanks. Maybe you can, next SWA meeting, report back to us on how we're doing, so.
Sure.
Okay, very good. So we have a motion by Guerra, second by Carr to approve the budget for the fiscal year. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments on this?
Double check. No, we do not have any public comment at this time.
Okay, no one in chambers and no one on the phone. So unless there's any other questions by members of the authority, we'll go ahead and call for a roll call vote.
Director Warren? Director Carr?
Aye.
Director Frost?
Aye.
Director Kennedy? Director Natoli?
Aye.
Director Peters? Director Peters?
Aye.
Director Guerra?
Aye.
And your motion carries with Director Warren and Kennedy being absent.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then we'll move to item number 8, which is the discussion and recommendations regarding the expiration of the temporary waivers of penalties for franchisees because of conditions related to the coronavirus. All right, Mr. Izzo.
Thank you. So today, we brought this item to you. In May, we passed a resolution that waived the recycling incentive payments for haulers who fail to meet the 30% recycling requirement. And at that time, basically, the board gave us direction to allow the waiver for the second quarter, and then we'd come back this fall and evaluate whether or not we need it for another, for a longer period of time. And so, based on the information we've received from our haulers, we believe that we do not need to do that extension. The recycling numbers for the second quarter were all good. All the haulers except for one hauler met that 30%, and the one hauler that did not quite make it, it was only 2.5 tons, I believe, of material. So it's a very small amount. So our recommendation is to let that waiver expire. So there's no action required other than to make that decision. Thank you. Questions?
Okay, members of the board, questions?
No question, Mr. Chair. I just want to thank staff for taking a slow approach at this, and I know there were differences of opinion between the hauler community here, so I want to thank you guys for taking the time to work with them on it.
Very good. Anyone else? So I take it that no action would need to be taken. It's just a receive and file unless we intended to actually extend.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So with that, there's no action warranted. The waivers will have expired, and staff recommendation is not to continue the waiver. So, all right. Any public comment on this item before we go?
No, we do not have any public comment at this time.
Okay. All right. So it's a receive and file. I don't think we need a motion on that, and we'll so note. And again, thank you. Echoing Mr. Guerra's comments, thanks for staff work on this as well. So, okay, we'll go to item number 9, which is the summary report on illegal dumping enforcement and support that program in the City of Sacramento. And here comes Aaron Treadwell. Good afternoon, Aaron.
Hi, good afternoon. I think the presentation's coming up. Perfect. I'm Erin Treadwell. I am the Integrated Waste Compliance Manager. It's a new position with the city, although I've been with the city for several years and also with the Recycling and Solid Waste Division, but this is a new role for me. And as part of that, I also get to oversee the code enforcement officers that are assigned to our division. So that leads me to giving you this report on our illegal dumping program. There we go. In 2019, and this report covers 2019, we had 14,490 reports of illegal dumping. The heat map before you shows where primarily those reports come from, gives you a sense of what's going on in the city. That really hasn't changed too drastically over the last couple of years. A comparison between 2018 and 2019, we had, in 2018, 12,490 reports. The reason for the uptick is several. One is the person prior to me, our senior code enforcement officer, who has since retired, undertook changing the software that we use to track illegal dumping, as well as how we categorize it. So we are capturing more correct data related to our illegal piles. Also, we do run a robust report campaign, and we did so in 2019, and we believe that also contributed to the increase, as well as we do believe that there was an uptick in illegal dumping in 2019. We did collect a corresponding increase in tonnage. And as for our investigations, in the same vein as we took a look at how we categorized the illegal dumping reports, we also looked at how we triaged investigations. So although our investigations were 658 investigations for illegal dumping, which appears to be down from the 800 we did in 2018, we did issue more citations. We tripled our citation issue, and again, we kind of working smarter, looking at what cases could be investigated and that we would see some results from. We also issued 5 rewards in 2019. A little bit about the enforcement results. So of those 658 cases that were investigated, these are kind of where they land. About 34% are what we call our notice of violation or self-correction cases. These are where we are able to make contact with the dumper or the alleged dumper, if you will, and get them an NOV, and they have 24 hours to correct the issue, either removing the pile themselves, whatever it takes. So about 34% of those investigative cases are self-corrected, and that's what we like to see. Well, we'd like to see dumping not happening at all, but if so, that's our that's our favorite, right, in terms of enforcement. We also have 22% that are unfounded. So a report comes in and staff goes out, or an officer goes out to investigate, and the pile's not there. So we do have an unfounded group. We already talked about the 20 citations, and we do have a rash of what we call our early outs. Similar to the county, we do have a free household junk pickup program. Our customers get 2 a year. They're supposed to put them out 24 hours in advance, but often they'll put them out a week or 2 in advance. If we get a report of a pile, it turns out to be actually from an address that does have an appointment in the near future, those are tagged as early outs. And then we have our 32% that are lack of evidence. This is a situation where a report, primarily it's a witness report, comes in. There is enough information there to move forward, but there's something about it that doesn't allow us to get it to the citation level. And I want to speak to that one specifically next. There we go. So of those lack of evidence cases, about a third are because we have witnesses who are declining to cite the statement that we need for the case to move forward. They want to remain anonymous. And it may be the only evidence we have that could strongly tie a person to a case that would allow us to take it to citation. Anecdotally, the majority of citations and dumping we see are not from outsiders. They are individuals who live in the neighborhood. They're only a couple blocks away. Often they are known to the folks who are reporting, and so there's a fear and concern about wanting to identify or put themselves out on a limb and something getting back to them. So without some of that information or those statements, we can't move to citation. In order for us to issue a reward, our policy is a case must move to citation or conviction. And again, we issued 5 rewards in 2019. We do have several deterrents. This is to hopefully keep the piles from hitting the street. We have cameras, which I'll speak to a little later in a slide. We do, when we have staff available and crews available, we do patrol the hot spots. It's been a little bit more difficult during COVID, the pandemic, but we do that. We do collaborate with the PBIDs, and we offer signage to both private property owners and commercial businesses in areas where illegal dumping is occurring. We can post some signage. But what I do want to speak to is our household junk program and our dump coupon. You'll see since 2016, we have had steady growth in both of those programs. Again, we offer 2 free household junk collections a year and 2 free appliance e-waste collections per customer a year, and each customer is mailed a dump coupon as part of our annual mailing. So those numbers have consistently gone up. Preliminarily, the 2020 numbers are going to be very high, because after you've done your sourdough starter, what else do you have to do to clean out your closet and your garage? So our household junk appointments have been booked out, and I know the county has had the same, and we've seen our dump coupon usage go up significantly. All right. I mentioned we do have an outreach campaign we run primarily in the spring, where we are, again, encouraging folks to call and report. Our goal is the sooner we know about a pile, the sooner we can do something about it, whether it meets a criteria to be investigated or at least can get manifested and picked up. We need to know it's there in order for us to act on it. And we also do promote our household junk pickup and appliance e-waste programs as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about cameras? So in 2019, we purchased and installed 6 new cameras, thanks to the SWA. And those cameras came with license readers. From those cameras, 3 of the citations we issued in 2019 came directly from those camera usage. But the other thing we're seeing is what we're calling the ring effect. So in 2019, 7 of our citations came from private footage provided by customers from either their Ring doorbells or whatever private security cameras they may have. They're, of course, becoming much more prevalent in the community, and they are proving to be incredibly helpful in terms of, at least for our cases, for illegal dumping. So we anticipate seeing that continue to be able to use that as a tool. We were able to add a 3rd code officer in 2019, but the caveat to that is 2 of our code officers recently retired, so we're back down to 2, but hopefully within the next few months here, we'll be fully staffed again. And we were able to increase our little collection that we used through the Sacramento Regional Conservation Corps from 4 days a week, 4 days a month to 6 days a month. And that is the conclusion for the city's report. I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Let me go to our members of the board. Do members have questions or comments? Okay, I think no questions or comments, Aaron. Let's see if we have any public comments on this, Madam Clerk.
Yes, we do have
Okay.
one. Oh, but it's not for this item. So we do not have any public comment for this item at this time.
Okay, all right. Okay, anything else you want to add, Aaron? Or
No, that's it. Thank you very much.
all right, thank you for your work. Thanks for the report, and appreciate it. Okay, with that, then we'll move to our next report, item 10, and I believe we have Rosa here to make that presentation. And good afternoon, and this is the summary report on illegal dumping enforcement program in the unincorporated portion of Sacramento County.
Thank you. Yes, good afternoon. My name is Rosa Orellana. I'm a supervising code enforcement officer for the county, and I will go over the county efforts. Let me get this clicker here. So first, a little background about the team and what we do. So on the SWA side, we have 2 full-time code officers, and on the illegal dumping side, we have 2 additional. We have 1 dedicated administrative assistant, 1 senior officer, 1 supervising officer, and then we pull in other staff as needed. When we go out, of course, the most common thing we do is we investigate complaints of illegal dumping for our dumpster enforcement program. We investigate complaints of overflowing dumpsters, junk around the dumpsters, graffiti, dumpsters damaged, those sort of things, scavenging into the dumpsters. A little bit about what we did for 2019. So similarly to the county, you can see the hot spots where we received the majority of our 311 requests, and you can see a concentration in Oak Park, and then that little red dot in the top left corner is the Metro Air Parkway near the airport.
Before you leave that, could you go back?
Yeah.
You kind of lose part of the county on the map. I assume you show the hot spots, but you don't go any further than, doesn't look like south of Calvine Cosumnes. There's a lot more county there, so do you track that? Is there another piece of the map that's tracked?
Yeah, it was just kind of cropped to fit the slide. Down in the southern tip of the county, because it's a lot more rural or kind of more spaced out, so you don't see the color change in concentration. They're just kind of small points kind of all over. I know the south has its challenges, like we work together on the Mayhew, and there's parts, like Aaron mentioned, some of the difficulties for us. For example, to put a camera up, they require 24-hour power, and in a lot of rural areas, or even like in the north where 16th and Casser is a big hotspot, we don't have that. So those are some of the challenges that we have to navigate when we have.
Well, I realize that. I guess it's just a map, and recognizing you brought it down to one slide, but because I know Tim can vouch for this, and certainly you can too, that you get calls from our offices for all throughout the county, and this captures a good portion of the suburban and metropolitan part of the county, but there are rural areas that may not show as a deeper red, and that's probably a good thing from the standpoint of where it's most occurring. But I just, again, as long as there's a map that reflects that, I would be interested if you could forward to my office
absolutely.
A copy of the map of the entirety of the county, and maybe that would be helpful to other members of the SWA board as well. So okay,
absolutely.
Good. Thanks, Rosa.
So what came out of all that, all the calls? So the county received 11,345 calls for illegal dumping. The Department of Waste Management and Recycling collected 1,403 tons of material. The Code Enforcement Division has 501 cases total. The number of inspections is actually almost double that amount because a lot of times we have to go back to the same place twice, or we have to figure out a different place where we can find a violator. But in terms of cases, that's how many we had, 501. 39 criminal citations came out of that, and we issued 8 rewards. In terms of the citations, we do at the county issue criminal citations, so those are issued to individuals, not properties. They're based on independent evidence submitted to 311 or to individuals at the county. They're based, again, on independent evidence or testimony. The witnesses are required to appear in court for it to be heard should the defendant plead not guilty, just like any other criminal case. So hearsay is not allowed. I, as an officer, could not testify to what a witness saw or heard, which is a barrier to us because we can't bring those cases forward when a witness chooses not to appear in court. The fines typically are about $1,000 should the violator be found guilty. Of the 39 citations that we issued, 22 were issued a fine. The fines range depending on what the judge orders. We have no say in what the fine will be at the end. The total was a little over $23,000, about $1,075 per person. There was also 92 hours of community service hours assigned to violators, and we issued citations in 5 different categories. The first and most common is illegal dumping. We issued 30 citations for illegal dumping. The next, for abandoning vehicles on a public road, we issued 3 citations for that. 3 citations for someone using a dumpster that doesn't belong to them. Typically that happens at apartment complexes or commercial properties where people are trying to get rid of their bulky waste and they come in the night and use the dumpsters that don't belong to them. So we issued 3 for that. 2 citations for scavenging and 1 citation for littering. Disposition results, 13 violators were found guilty after pleading not guilty and appearing in court. So 13 were found guilty. 13 people failed to appear but had a driver's license suspension placed on their record. So when that cycle comes up, they'll have to address it then. 6 people were found to just fail to appear. 3 people pled no contest, which is effectively the same as pleading guilty. 2 people were found to be not guilty, and 2 people had pending trials at the time this presentation was put together, but now were found guilty. We also assign fines to properties, and this is helpful when a case sometimes doesn't rise to a criminal level, and we want to hold a property owner responsible. So we issued 55 of these we issued 55 fines to properties. The fees ranged from $50 to $350 depending on the amount of material that was placed out. And those were just about evenly divided between the north and the south of the county. In terms of our dumpster regulation enforcement, the county inspected 1,980 commercial, industrial, and multifamily properties. The majority of them, 1,880, were in compliance without any of our involvement. Before we even showed up, they were already in compliance. 100 of them were not in compliance, so we issued 100 courtesy notices. These didn't have any fees attached. It was just as an education piece. Of those 100, only 11 did not comply and required a notice of violation. And then after that, 4 complied in each step, and only 3 required additional enforcement, but eventually everyone did comply. The categories that we cited for the dumpster enforcement area, 35 properties we cited for overflowing dumpsters, meaning they didn't have the right level of service and they needed to increase it. 30 properties were cited for not having service at all. 26 bins were not properly labeled. 5 properties had damaged bins, and 4 of them have graffiti. To accomplish all this on the SWA side, we dedicated 120 admin support hours and 2,300 officer hours. We also participated in the Title VI revisions that were already completed, and that included a comprehensive overhaul with a lot of cleanup language, like Tim mentioned, including a lot of what already exists in SWA code and just putting it into county code. Most notably, we gained the ability to issue administrative penalties to violators, and that's helpful when something doesn't rise to a level of criminal, or to take it out of that arena and into an administrative arena where, for example, hearsay is allowed, and we would not have to require witnesses to come should they choose not to. And then some of our 2020 goals that we are well into, working with different departments such as 311, Waste Management, ourselves, Code, EMD, others, to kind of more efficiently approach this matter and reduce service gaps. We also undertook the goal of completing at least an initial inspection on all industrial, commercial, multifamily properties. So we started working at the most southern tip of the county and have been working our way up systematically, visiting all of those properties, commercial, industrial, multifamily. So COVID kind of slowed us down a little bit because we were shut down for about 4 months, but total between 2019 and 2020, we're about 75% complete of hitting the entire county. We just have a small portion of the northern part that's left, so we look forward to completing that goal. And then integrating further with existing technology, so 311 and our internal case management system, Acela, now are able to communicate, which is really helpful for customers because sometimes they would call 311 for an update, but Acela and 311 would not communicate, so they had to be transferred or forwarded and wait for a call back. So now those two systems communicate. When a 311 call for illegal dumping is placed, it automatically generates a case in our system, and then when we take an action, it feeds back to 311, so everyone is in the loop. So we're glad that we were able to complete that. For 2020, we're kind of in the same ballpark as 2019. Like I mentioned, COVID kind of slowed us down in the first couple months. We were shut down from about March to July. But we have upwards of 300 investigations that are active for illegal dumping, and in terms of the dumpster compliance program, we've inspected over 1,400 properties this year. So with that, and I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Rosa. I'm going to take some questions in just a moment. I just wanted to go back to your previous slide on the goals, on your first bullet point there, where you talk about working with various departments to reduce service gaps. I think one area that, again, offering a suggestion in a friendly manner here that I, at least from my perspective, would be helpful, Rosa, and again, I know that calls either come in or that observations that are made in the field relative to, it may not be illegal dumping piles, it might be hit and miss items, but the roads get littered, not just with paper and cans and bottles, but household items, one here, one there, and not necessarily big items. I know we call in on almost every other day basis to solid waste and recycling about locations, and have coordinated with solid waste and recycling on some of the litter cleanups using the Conservation Corps. But your officers are out, obviously, throughout the county. And I think an area, and also Department of Transportation crews, and we're not going to get to all the roads in any fell swoop, but I would think that we have the ability to coordinate so that beyond just the enforcement and cleanup of the piles of debris and litter and the enforcement actions you've outlined, I think there's the opportunity to maybe be a little more proactive as it relates to particularly litter and small debris removal. And again, I know the rural roads, I can describe a number of them to you, but it's not just theirs. It's in some of the suburban areas, and particularly where you don't have street improvements, and the ditches get littered and lined with things over time. And again, I want to thank for the efforts that have gone on. Certainly, the efforts of your department. Thanks Solid Waste for the responsiveness to a number of calls received, and I'm sure in other districts as well. But that's an area I think where you might be able to talk with your fellow departments, coordinate with Solid Waste Recycling, Conservation Corps. And I guess I just wanted to add, we approved a $100,000 budget, and we used all of that plus a little bit this year. If there's a need to supplement that, I, for one, obviously we just approved the budget, but I think that both in the city and in the county, in our communities, that has proven I think beneficial, and it's noticeable. And I know that I received a comment earlier this year when the crews got out there and did a segment of Grant Line Road the person was just amazed. Of course, it didn't take very long for some of that to get replaced by new litter and such. But again, I appreciate the responsiveness, but I think that's an area, if you're looking at coordinating, 311, you might get a call about litter or debris. It doesn't rise to the level of the same thing of having a big pile or illegal dumping and, a lot of material. And so I don't know if there's anything you would like to add or Tim, but I think there's a real opportunity here to coordinate on a level where it doesn't have to come to a supervisor's office or to a city council member's office. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear the same things you do. I know, like you mentioned, in the unimproved areas where there's a lot of ditches, a little will collect over time. And then when the rainfall comes, so right now we're hearing the most of it where right before the rainfall, we want to clear all that up so it doesn't get clogged.
Yeah, and it clears the drains. It's a water quality issue at some point too. So
yeah, and Conservation Corps has been very helpful. We do have we do move them around depending on the needs. And absolutely, I think that's something that we can work on. We've been having a lot of meetings trying to coordinate how to better streamline what we do and what the roles of the different agencies within the county so that we can provide better service, such as what you're saying.
And I'll add, we're working on some homeless camp cleanup efforts with our funds. So hopefully next month we'll have something more to report on that as far as a director-approved contract that would, we'd be working with DHS on that.
In some of the public rights-of-way. Excuse me? In some of the public rights-of-way, right?
Yes, and maybe even some private areas too. But it'd be similar to the SEC contract where we have a vendor that goes out and does very directed cleanup.
Yeah, because I know my colleagues certainly and I on the board certainly have, in recent budget hearings and discussions about that, have noted that as becoming ever more problematic. So, okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Ms. Moriano's presentation?
Mr. Chair, this is Eric Guerra from the city.
Sure, Eric.
I would support your point of view, and again, we approved the budget here, and I know we moved the annual allocation for illegal dumping from $600,000 a year to $300,000, and obviously we did that back when we did the draft a few months back because unknowing what the climate was going to be like, the financial climate, and what the fees were going to be like in the fall. But I would like to see, how if we need to move that number, that we look at using those funds, particularly for, as you mentioned, some of the work that needs to be done. And I also have rural areas and near the unincorporated boundary where you have that the issue of just debris on the roadway, but also with the issue of helping the cleanup at some of the with some of the homeless encampments and being able to assist in those matters. So I'd be supportive of any kind of approach that we may need to do to increase services on that.
Okay. Thanks, Director Guerra. And so it may be that as we see more costs associated with this, that might warrant some potential budget adjustment mid-year. And I guess I would leave it to staff to kind of help us track that. If we're ramping up efforts and finding that we're going to incur some more costs, obviously we'll have to make some choices potentially within the budget framework. But I guess I would concur with Director Guerra as well that if it required us to take a look at how we might adjust that mid-year to make sure we can sustain efforts that, as you just mentioned, Tim, they're going to be ramped up with respect to some of the things we're seeing out there, then, I too would be, very interested and supportive of that. Very good. Other members of the SWA board, any other comments, questions? Okay, if not, I think we believe we do have a caller.
Not until the next item, so we do not have any public comment for this item.
Okay, so no public comment on this item as well. So thank you again, Rosa. Thanks to your colleagues for their good work, and to both you and Aaron for your leadership in the city and county. Okay, that concludes our reports, and so now we're down to public comments, and we do have a public comment.
Yes, we do have one.
Okay, very good. We'll allow 3 minutes for our caller, and I'll let the clerk bring them up, please.
Hello, caller, are you there?
Hey, Mike, hold on
I'm
just for a
sorry,
second.
just one moment.
Yeah, just hold on a second, Mike. We're trying to get you so we can all hear you in just a minute.
Okay, sorry about that, Mike. You're going to have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Mike, go ahead. Thank you.
Right. As I said, this is Mike Lean with L&D Landfill. I was trying to get in during the general manager's report, but the line was blocked. And so if it's not a problem, I would like to go back and comment on the SWA dissolution.
That's fine. You again, understanding our technical challenges
Okay,
here.
this is fine.
Go ahead.
As I think the SWA board knows, this is something that we are against, and we're concerned about increasing costs, and frankly that there's a place in the city and the county for solid waste to be heard and get it to do. But with that said, I appreciate the update and have got a couple of questions. My recollection is that the board's action was an intent to withdraw as opposed to a specific vote to withdraw. And then secondarily, I'm wondering if the city is in fact ready, and with the pandemic and how things have been going, if it would be appropriate to be considering an extension, and wondering related to that, how things are going, and if in fact the city's had a chance to run some budgets on a going forward basis to see how things are going to work economically.
Okay. Thanks, Mike, for your questions. I don't know, Tim, is that something you can attempt to field? And
Well, I'll give you a quick answer, and then if you want more detailed answer, Katrina certainly can address the intent question, and the city can talk about their preparation. So with regards to the intent to withdraw, that language very closely reflects what is in the JPA formation documents, and so basically there are no further actions required for the county to proceed forward with dissolution. There are tasks we need to do, a revision of the county and city codes. We need to work on assignment of contracts and come to agreement on how the leftover funds are split between the city and the county. But at this point, there's no further action required by the county, and the SWA board itself, it's not their decision, basically. So that's my understanding there. As far as the city goes, maybe it is best for Aaron to come up and address those, but they've been very hard at work getting ready for that.
Okay, thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Hi again, Erin Treadwell with the City of Sacramento. Yes, so I have taken on the role as the program manager for this new commercial compliance section. We're about to hire a program specialist. We're going through the applications now and have just received approval to fill an analyst position. So we anticipate this unit to be staffed up by the end of the year. As it was stated in the manager's report, we expect to have our code in place by early 2021, which will then allow us to execute the franchise agreements well in advance of July 1st. In terms terms of the budget, yes, the city has taken a look at what a post-SWA budget will look like, and just preliminarily, it's going to almost be cost neutral. It'll be about the same as what the city's currently expending or would be expending related to this program. So the costs will cover the staffing and the compliance and enforcement piece related to commercial waste in the city. It will not be a windfall, but we will be able to cover costs. And we don't anticipate against programmatically to have any really big significant changes for both haulers and generators. As Tim also mentioned in the manager report, the biggest difference between the city and county related to that is how we handle code compliance or code enforcement, and what our basically our enforcement and appeal process is different than the county's. So if folks are good and stay out of trouble, that won't be something they'll need to necessarily worry about. But programmatically, our goal has been to basically have a mirror program, so there wouldn't be that disruption between haulers and generators. And if there's any other questions, I'm happy to take them. So.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Tim. Katrina, anything you wanted to add as related to Mr. Lean's comments?
No, that was accurate what Tim said. What the JPA requires is that the governing body of one of the parties send a written request noting its intent to withdraw and giving 1 year's notice, and that was approved by a majority of the board, which was what was legally required. So I think that was essentially the step that kind of
okay. So to the point, there's no further action required by the Board of Supervisors at this juncture. The intent actually was the notice that
that's
county
correct.
was withdrawing. Okay. Mike, you're still on the phone. I don't want to get back and forth. Did that address your questions and comments?
He is no longer on the line.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lean, for your comments. Thank you, staff, for responding to the questions and the comments that were made. Okay. Any other callers?
No, that concludes your public comment.
All right. That brings us to the end of the agenda then. Our next meeting is scheduled for spring of 2021. Is that correct? Or... Oh, we have a November meeting? Okay. Okay, so all right, so we have one more meeting this year, this calendar year in November, and that date is?
It's November 12th, 2020.
Okay, November 12th. Okay, so we're back in chambers or back on the Zoom call November 12th. And again, thank all who've been in attendance today, to my colleagues and to our staff. And with that, then, if nothing further, we'll adjourn the meeting at 4 o'clock.